fucking rabbit is. What's all that?
Have you ever wondered which extraction shooter truly tests your skills to the max? Call of Duty's DMZ mode or the up-and-coming Delta Force Havoc Ops Havoc Ops mode? Today we're diving deep into every detail to see what comes out on top. So, we'll explore everything from missions, contracts, weapon customization, loot systems, stash management, and by the end I'm hoping you'll have a clear idea of which game offers the more intense and rewarding experience. So, the missions. DMZ mode. DMZ offers a variety of faction-based missions that are pivotal to player progression. These missions range from simple looting and eliminating AI to more intricate tasks like securing high-value targets or infiltrating heavily fortified strongholds. Completing these missions grants player XP, special cosmetics, and keys that unlock further areas of loot within the game. The missions also range from different aspects of the game and different maps, so depending on what you're trying to achieve, you may be forced to go into a map you're not as confident with, or you may go into a map that you really love. Havoc Ops, on the other hand, the missions are multifaceted and revolve around key objectives like finding valuable items, eliminating high-profile bosses, scanning for intel, and opening safes or computers. These missions are not just in-map tasks, but are tied to a broader progression system that includes modding guns and gear. As players complete the missions and submissions, they unlock new content, further customization options, and even new gear sometimes, and also unlocks to the base. The contracts. In DMZ, these are like mini missions players can pick up during the gameplay, providing additional rewards like cash, loot, gear. These contracts include like cargo deliveries, assassinations, securing zones, adding to the variety of the gameplay and offering essential resources for survival. In Havoc Ops, the contracts play a similar role but with more detailed focus. Contracts sometimes involve clearing an area to find a specific item or piece of intel, as well as submissions like gathering intel from computers and safely opening safes. Completing these contracts not only reward the players with loot, but also ties into the in-game progression system where successful completion leads to unlocking of new modifications for weapons and gear. The bosses. In DMZ, they introduce bosses such as the Chemist and the Juggernaut, who drop rare and valuable loot upon defeat. These bosses are usually placed in high-risk areas, making their defeat both challenging and rewarding. For example, the Chemist is in like a chemical cloud. There's lots of AI around which aggro. These encounters add to a significant PvE element to the game, contrasting with the PvP nature of the broader experience of DMZ. Havoc Ops also features high-profile bosses as part of its core missions. Defeating these bosses is critical as they often guard or drop essential items needed for the mission completion. The design of these encounters ensure they're not just a battle but a tactical challenge that requires teamwork and strategy sometimes to overcome. These also depend on the maps you attend. So you have two different kinds of maps, an easy map and a harder map. The harder map's called Confidential, and you'll see that in these maps the bosses are much stronger, more focused, more aggressive, etc, etc. I think the stash and inventory management system is quite important in both games. DMZ, the stash is mainly designed to store weapons. This is your insured and your contraband. I think this was a big failing for DMZ. I think when they introduced the contraband, the insured system, it took away a bit of that loot fear that you get, or that gear fear that you get as part of the extraction shooter genre. I think what made it even worse was the introduction of the cooldowns. The cooldown allowed you to get that weapon back. Initially in the game, this was several hours, so you'd go into the game, you'd lose your gun. It'd probably be 2 or 3 or even 4 attempts at the map before that gun refreshed. As part of their strategy to introduce pay elements into the game, they introduced cooldowns, and these reduce your cooldowns from, in some instances, 3 hours down to 15 minutes. You could obviously decrease that cooldown if you did missions and through progression, but it never reduced it significantly enough down to that 15 minutes. Once that 15 minutes was introduced, you found players would go into the map that wouldn't care about losing their weapons, and it sort of instigated that 15-minute, that more PvP-related action that we started to see towards the end of DMZ. You've also got things like consumables and keys that are stored within DMZ, but it's more of a restrictive system. So bringing loot out of the map, you can't really store it. It extracts and then it's part of your point system at the end of the game. Whereas in Hazard Ops mode of Delta Force, it's a more versatile stash system where you can extract a wide range of stuff. The loot plays a massive part in the game. So bringing out key items that you find, you can either use them to trade for upgrades, different weapons, other bits and pieces, but you can also sell them for value depending on how important the items are. There's also an auction system, so people tend to need some of these items to craft things or upgrade things, so they'll pay over the odds in price to purchase them off you, so that adds an extra nuance to the stash system. The only difference between the two really that's significant, that may be more in DMZ's favour, is that your stash is your stash in Havoc Ops. Everything goes into the same box. So the more guns you bring out, the less other loot items you can store. You've also got medical items. So you've got your first aid kits, your bandage bags, etc., etc. All these things take up different space in your loot stash. So you have to think more about what you want to keep, what you need to sell, etc. There's gun mods and loadouts next. In DMZ, I think weapon customization is good. It's integrated into the larger Call of Duty gunsmith system, but you are pretty restricted in what you can use in terms of attachments, and they tend to be locked down while you progress with that gun. In Hazard Ops mode in Delta Force, it's more detailed, so you've got more options to customize, and these items aren't really linked to your progression, so they tend to be available to you. You also have different items that are shown in terms of how valuable they are or what they add. I think what also stands out in the Hazard Ops mode is for each item you add, not only can you modify and add that item, you can customize its focus through the slider, so you can make it more control orientated, or add weight to it, or add the length. But then it shows you detailed analysis of how that gun's performance will actually change with each modification you make. I think this is a massive selling point for the more hardcore of player. I think they want to know that detail. They want to experience that modification and what it does to the gun. And for me, it's a bit better in Hazard Ops than it is in DMZ. So we touched on this before as well briefly, looting in the economy. Looting in DMZ mainly involves you collecting cash and rare items. You can sell these items at the buy stations that you find, but you can also extract the cash out and keep it in your wallet depending on your wallet size. The loot in the game is not really valuable other than money, which sort of makes it a bit pointless. You can bring some stuff out to help with progression of your character, but other than that, and the bartering of maybe a few items such as your shields or your armor, and a few other bits and pieces in the game, there's not really a big barter or loot system. Again, Hazard Ops is a lot bigger. They tie loot to upgrades across all things, from it being weapons to armor to gear. You can also use it to unlock ammunition, make new ammunition. You can use it to upgrade your player. You can sell it for high value. You can auction it for even higher value. When you're looting in the map on Hazard Ops, you're having to look at the item to sort of say, do I need this for something? Or what's the maximum value I'm going to get for this if I take it out of the game? It adds that extra element to the gameplay, which is, again, really good for the hardcore player, but also because of how they've done it, with like a colour coding system, it's quite easy for the casual player to go, look, this is valuable, I'm going to take it out. What also shows on the looting system in Hazard Ops is you can click on the item It'll show you where you mainly find the item, but it will also show what the item is used for. So it quickly shows you how you can utilize it, how you can use it for different things that you need to make or build or whatever. And it also shows you the value of what it could get for you if you were to auction it. I think again, this extra level of detail and complexity adds to the gameplay and makes loot more interesting and worthwhile in Hazard Ops. The extraction mode is pretty cool in both games, so you've got to get out, you've got to take the items with you, you've got to survive. It's more fun in DMZ. From what I found, when you play DMZ, there's an element of fear a lot of the time when you're trying to extract, because players can see that you're extracting. You're usually all trying to extract from the same place. As the gas comes in, it forces you to certain points in the game. This element of the game that made DMZ really great was lost through glitches in the game, people utilising the Koshi glitch to get out of the game. So it sort of, again, nerfed that risk and reward that you got from extraction, and it allowed you to escape the game through the glitch with very little impact to you. There wasn't the fighting with other teams. What used to be amazing with DMZ was the final exfil. So the last exfil in the game, you tend to get 4 or 5 teams wanting to use it to stay on the map as long as possible and then fight their way out at the end. Once the glitch appeared, that sort of died a death, and it was very rare that you would ever find anyone on the final exfil. Hazard Op mode, the extraction is good. It sort of lends to you staying longer in the map because the extraction points are there. There's points you can use that alert people that you're exfilling. So, for example, the train exfil or the lift exfil, which adds that element of PvP fear. There's also points on the map where you can exfil with a charge, so you either have to go out with less items than what you want to take out, or you have to pay a surcharge to get out. The actual look of the exfil isn't great in Hazard Ops. Basically, you walk into the green smoke and it clicks down. There's a couple of cool animations. For example, when you go up the lift at the dam, you see like a cutscene where you jump over the dam and into a boat and off. And then there's another scene where you're in this boat and a helicopter comes above you and you get the cutscene where you escape. But other than that, it's quite tame, and you just stood there with a counter in the smoke and it goes to 0. In DMZ mode, you did get, if you left it to the wire, you did still manage to escape if you went over a second. What I found in Hazard Ops mode, I left it too long and I got to an extraction point with, I think it was, 8 or 9 seconds left to spare, but the extraction takes 10 seconds. As soon as the point hit the 0, I died, and I was devastated, and I lost all my gear. So there is that there when you try and push your luck a little bit. But for me, I think the biggest seller on this one was the DMZ extraction mode before the Koshi glitch came. Once that came, it sort of killed it. But yeah, I really did like the animation and the actual what the extraction was, waiting for the helicopter to come in, protecting it, getting on the helicopter, waiting for it to take off, defending it. I think DMZ nailed it. So, in conclusion to it both, I think both DMZ and Hazard Ops offer intense and tactical gameplay experiences. I think they cater slightly for different audiences. I think DMZ is very much a casual arcadey shooter. I think Hazard Ops can be both. I think it can be good for the casual player, but because of the detail and the different elements they've got in the game, they are catering to the more hardcore player as well. I think the broad base audience that Hazard Ops will reach will be much larger. I think the depth of the customization and flexibility in the loot systems in Delta Force Havoc Ops is way and above DMZ. I think the gun modding and the mission structure is better than DMZ. I think the gameplay is better than DMZ. My big fear, DMZ has been a massive part of my game playing experience over the last 2 years or so. I've loved it. I've absolutely loved it. I've loved the people I've met on there. I've loved the game. I think they could have done so much more with it. But I think Delta Force is going to kill it. I think what they've done, they've taken all the good bits of DMZ and improved them. I think they've looked at things like Tarkov and tried to simplify some of their aspects to make it more accessible. I think the effort they're putting into it, the graphics are just brilliant. I love the arcadey graphics of DMZ, but I think while Delta Force is still a bit arcadey, I think the detail in there, it surpasses it. I think you are going to get different types of people playing Delta Force, and I think the last group of individuals that are left playing DMZ will soon leave. They're both free to play, so you can go and try Delta Force to see what you think, and if you don't like it, you might be able to go back to DMZ for a short period of time. But I think people that try Delta Force will enjoy it. I think once they get used to the more detailed aspects of it, I think they'll be sold. I as soon as I get full access to Delta Force, I won't be going back to DMZ. So that's me. You're going to get your opportunity to test it. It's coming out on beta on the 6th of August. I think that keys will be given away by a lot of different people. I'm part of the creator community, so I should hopefully have some keys to hand out to you guys. I think if you enjoyed this, watch a few more of my Delta Force videos to get you a flavour of what is coming and what's in the pipeline for next week. And then please share this video. I think get more people to see it. Hopefully I'll be able to give you some more info next week when I get access and I start playing it and I start streaming it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, give it a subscribe, give me a follow, give me a share, do what you want. Speak to you soon. Bye.